So apparently the gameplay of Lex tanking multiple attacks from different kinds of enemies at different points in the game was not convincing enough for someone. The thing is, I was gonna leave it alone, but this person was a dick, like a huge one. Oh, and yes, I am mad, not because you were rude, but because you were so confidently incorrect while also being rude. So I think it'll be a nice learning moment for us all to break down your arguments and tell you why you're wrong, accompanied by gameplay of Lex working in a squad because again, I guess the last video wasn't convincing enough. Lex does one thing really well, and is still outclassed in that one thing by other characters who are not nearly as pigeonholed, which is why Lex is bad. Virginia, for example, gets 2 shields, allowing her to counter nearly any offense sent at her. Even generic Great Shield users can tank just as well as Lex can, while Shield Bearers specifically can not only wall offense, but come with smoke and are archers effectively dealing with 2 large threats at once in addition to physical damage. Well, you're right, buddy. Lex does in fact do one thing really well, and that's being a flexible tank. While yes, Virginia does have 2 shields, with just one, Lex can literally tank much better than her because that's his dedicated role. Plus, how are you going to ignore the extra accessory slot Lex gets as if that isn't useful? Yes, Great Shield units can tank as well as Lex can until a mage sneezes on them. I'm not saying the fighter's magic defense is better, but it's not nearly as low as the Great Shields. Shield Bearers are good units, yes, but in my experience they struggle if you don't commit them to offense or defense. Their abilities are all over the place. The aid cover is kinda weird because the point of covering someone is so that they don't need to be healed. This isn't to tear the Shield Bearer down, but to show that they do have their own problems. As for Valor skills, yes, Smoke Bolt is generally more useful, but Provoke is still good. Smoke Bolt doesn't work on catapults or ballista, but Provoke does. It also works against enemies garrisoned at towers, so it's like a version of Smoke Bolt that brings the enemies towards you. How's that for providing value? Oh what? You're still not convinced? What's the problem now?
The thing about that is, you have generally enough
The thing about that is, you have generally enough better tanks that Lex is never going to see play. Virginia and Berengaria, Morden, Keitra, Elaine, Berenice, there's just no reason to field more than like 2 to 4 teams in a battle, and unless every one of your teams require 2+ tanks, Lex is just not worth bringing. Hell, his Provoke is actually bad on teams where you want damage to be spread out, as Provoke just gets him killed really fast against anything that can break through. Now, I just want to remind you, by the end of our interaction, this person is cursing at me, telling me I don't know shit about the game, when they're getting things horribly wrong themselves. He goes on to call Morden and Keitra tanks when they aren't tanks, but breakers. They're the guys who destroy armored units. So why did you call not one, but both of them tanks? I know this wasn't an accident. Hell, you even had the balls to mention Elaine without conceding the fact that since he's cavalry, he's got a shit ton of weaknesses. Curse, Swamp, Nature's Wrath, just about every flying unit in the game. How is it fair to mention Lex's weaknesses, but none of the others? Let's continue on to the next point. Provoke is bad on teams where you want damage to be spread out, as Provoke gets him killed really fast against things that can break through. Well, in my case personally, I don't want the damage spread out. It's mostly going to one source so I can focus on that one source. If anything can break through, your options are to kill those things first, or don't put that character in the shit situation. Man, I can't believe Lex didn't survive this encounter versus the 3 breakers whose entire existence is shut down armored units. This guy must fucking suck. I keep running him into units that counter him and he keeps dying. He must fucking suck. Yes, fire is hot. The sky is blue as haiku. Bless you, idiot. The unfortunate part is, I was being nice to this person until I slowly started realizing they didn't want to actually have a meaningful conversation. They just wanted to be right and have the last word. I ultimately tried to leave it at a, we'll agree to disagree, and that's when they decided to show their true intentions.
But why are you using Hilda as a tank? She's an attacker, even without the Dragoon Spear and a Row Cleaver either nuking the entire battlefield with one attack, or melting through armored units with Flame Breath. See, this is my problem with your video. You're making a case for using Lex, but to do so you're playing badly just to include him. Hilda is one of the strongest units in the game, and with range she's fast too, and you're making her play defense when initiative wins battles, and Hilda is one of the best attackers in the game. Well, first off, I never said I used Hilda as a tank. I said I put her on the front line with Lex, and between the two of them they're able to soak up whatever comes their way. It's so frustrating for you to make judgments about my gameplay based on assumptions when the proof is in the 4-minute video. There's literally a scene where it shows my group is capable of one-rounding the garrison leader's squad, but I guess that just didn't happen. Like, look at this dipshit talk down to me like I'm a dog when they don't even know what they're talking about.
So after thoroughly explaining that I do know what I'm talking about and making a rib at their intelligence, they go off.
If you're gonna get mad over being called an idiot for convincing people a bad unit is good, actually, maybe don't swagger into a game you clearly don't understand like you know shit. It's a team game, you rate units on what they do for the team, so pretending you're only talking about Lex as a lone unit, despite mentioning several times what he can do in a team provoke, in the comments just convinces me further you have no clue.
Honestly, I'm not even sure what you're trying to say here. It seems like you're so against me, you went full circle and somehow ended back up on my side. I'm not sure. Moving on.
Provoke is bad, all it does is make Lex die faster. Lex is also slow, so he's never gonna get it off unless you plume him, and there goes his guard rate.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where Mr. Bubblebox has officially proven they themselves, in fact, do not know what the fuck they're talking about. Provoke is a limited skill that happens at the start of fucking battle, yet here they are saying Lex will never get it off. If you actually watched my video, you would know this because I mention it. Then this person goes on to talk about how no one uses Lex in Arena when for the longest time the top squad in Arena had Lex in it. If you were playing since the game came out, you would know that. You're just actually factually wrong in so many ways. I will, however, concede one point. I don't know what a Jagran is. Look, I'm not going to claim to have played FE Shadow Dragon, but I do understand the concept of Jagan. It's funny to have you try and school me on it when I was making a joke. Literally the scene before I say no one uses Joseph, I'm fucking using Joseph. Again, proving you didn't watch the fucking video. Honestly, I would have left all this alone. Hell, I even tried to tell the person they were right, even when I knew they were wrong, but they decided to act high and mighty like they run shit. You could just not reply if you really want to leave. You could just not comment if you don't know what you're talking about. This is my channel. It may not be much, but you're not gonna get to come in here and push me around and tell me I can leave when this is my work, especially when you're not even fucking right. I mean, honestly, it's my fault thinking an account named Mr. Bubblebox would have a genuine argument. Expand your thoughts, Bubble Boy. Thanks to this whole fiasco, I'm feeling like playing Unicorn Overlord again, so we're going to make another video. And it's going to be about my strongest squad, and it's going to be in depth. So until then, later.